Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. If you're really into the Word, you're going to have a good time today. Glad you joined us. Glad you all could make it out on this beautiful evening. We're going to be short tonight. We look at Psalm 9. I'm going to read the first 6 verses, just read through, then we'll pick up, do a little teaching starting at verse 7, but I just hate diving into the middle of something. Let me know when you're there. Psalm 9. I want to read from, let's read a little bit from the Amplified, and we may go somewhere else, but let me start there. It says, I will praise you, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will show forth, recount, and tell about all your marvelous works and wonderful deeds. I will rejoice in you and be in high spirit. I will sing praise to your name, O Most High. Verse 3 says, when my enemies turn back, they stumble and perish before you. For you have maintained my right and my cause. You sat on the throne, judging righteously. You have rebuked the nations. You have destroyed the wicked. You have blotted out their name forever and ever. Verse 6 says, the enemy has been cut off and have vanished into everlasting ruin. They have plucked up and overthrown their cities. The very memory of them plucked up. You have plucked up and overthrown their cities. The very memory of them has perished and vanished. The psalmist is talking about how God has always stood with him, how God has always had his back, how God has always been the lifter up of his head. In the midst of all the stuff that he's seeing, and all the stuff that's happening, and all the enemies that have come against him, he's saying that he has put his trust in God, and that God has dealt with his enemies, and he has dealt with the nations and so forth, and everything that has risen up against him, he's saying that God has dealt with them. And I want to start out with that understanding that I truly understand what the psalmist said. If it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, where would I be? I totally understand the concept that my foot had almost slipped, had you not just really trusted and believed in God, if he hadn't been there for you. And so the psalmist is saying that you find, especially with David, he's always on the run, and he's going here and going there, and they're always chasing him. And there was no reason for them to be chasing him, because he had been a good guy. It's like with Jesus. How everywhere that Jesus went, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and those like them would always follow him around. And the Bible says real plainly, they went around trying to find something to capture him in. That's why they were there. They were not there at all to learn, or they were not there at all to rejoice. They were not there at all to be encouraged. They were not there at all to be enriched in the things of God. None of that was on their mind. They simply were there as his enemies, there to bring him down, to destroy him. It wouldn't matter what Jesus did, they still would have said, crucify him, crucify him. Now, I know you can't relate to that, because there's never been anybody in your life who just didn't like you. You are too cool for that. You are too cool for anybody not to like you. You understand, like that little show, that was called Family Ties, I think it was, with little Arnold in it. He said, what you talking about, Willis? That's how you are. When anybody look at you and don't love you, you're like, what you talking about, fool? Surely there's got to be something wrong with you not to like me. But anyway, this is where the psalmist is writing, and this is where he comes into to that. And I can relate because when I look around the world in which we live, and I look at the things that are happening in this country, I'm telling you, if I take my eyes off of the Lord and what the Lord is saying and what he's doing, it can get so frustrating when you see the total injustice that you see being propagated across the land in so many different ways, where the righteous are being thrown in jail and the wicked are just being, shuffled along and gone on, and it doesn't really matter with them. And so, but that's why you have to be trained and understand in your own heart that you must keep your eyes on the Lord. You must keep your eyes on the Lord. Because if you don't, it can be very disheartening. But I love what we're going to read tonight as we're looking at. We'll go back to your King James. I know you feel more comfortable there. He says in verse 7, he says, but, that's what all the stuff that we just got to read. He starts out in verse 7 with the word but. I love that. It's like we did Sunday when we started out with nevertheless. I tell you, no matter what's happening in your life, there's always a nevertheless. And no matter which way you're sliding down, there's a karma, but God. You always got to remember that. But God. Amen? Mm-hmm. So I keep on going. Verse 7. He says, but the Lord shall endure forever. Now that's King James, Other translations say he shall reign forever. Okay. He shall reign forever. He shall endure. He shall last forever. He's going to be there. But it says he shall endure forever. That's so important for you to understand that the Lord, he shall endure forever. Why is that important? Because so many things change. So many things that used to be are not that way anymore. So many things that you used to be able to stand firm on. There was a time when people would say things like, are you afraid? Or are there any places that you're afraid to go to? Well, kind of lightly. In other words, I would go there, but my eyes would be open, and I'd be looking behind my back, and I'd get through there as soon as I could. Now, things are so crazy and so wicked, I don't really trust nothing. I don't trust no place. You can even go places that used to be straight. They've been taken over by insane lunatics where you just can't trust anything no more. And so that's how crazy life has got. But the nice thing is that the Lord reigns, and that he reigns forever. Nothing that's happening today has any effect on who he is. Nothing that you're seeing taking place has no effect. People say, why don't he stop it? Listen, God's going to stop it all when he's ready. A lot of the crazy stuff that's happening has to happen. It takes you back to Jeremiah chapter 1 when he talks about rooting out, digging up, uprooting. It says, then you plant. So a lot of the craziness that you see has to happen. Why? Because it's showing people for who they really are. It's showing people, and it's showing you just how deep the insanity goes, how deep the crookedness, the fraudulency goes in today's society. And it's got me to the place now where things that I thought I knew in the past, I'm not sure I know them anymore. Because it's just insane. I think half the stuff that we've been taught about how history went, I'm not sure it happened that way no more. I'm really not, because of how the insanity that I've seen in the last 3 years. It's just so insane. But none of that throws me for a loop. Why? Because I know that God is the same. Okay, what it looks like out there, God is the same. He hasn't changed his mind. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's still King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Remember we talked about unto us and about a child being born, but it says that the government shall be upon his shoulders. It says his government shall have no end. So that's how you and I can stand, because he is always going to be the one who rules the earth. It may look like other folk are doing something, trust me, it's just a matter of time. And I think time is short. I really do. So I'll keep on going. I sure am having a good time. It says, but the Lord shall endure forever. It says, he has prepared his throne for judgment. The Lord reigns forever. He has prepared his throne for judgment. Now, while you're right there in Psalms, because I don't want you to get lost, go to Psalm 145. Psalm 145. He reigns forever, no matter what it looks like. He reigns forever. Psalm 145. We're going to look at verse 13. Psalm 145, verse 13. He says, thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and thy dominion endured through all generations. How long is that? It is an everlasting kingdom. It means he rules, he sits on the throne forever. We get caught up because a lot of times things happen. We go, well, where was God at? He's there. He's just wiping it off. He's letting people do what they want to do, and all they're doing is digging themselves into a deeper and deeper hole, to where there's no way you can do anything but acknowledge this is who I am. Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, he says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, says the Lord. The beginning and the ending. He was the one who was making it happen in the beginning with just speaking his word. He's going to be the one who makes it happen in the end by speaking his word. He says that he's going to destroy them with the breath of his mouth. When he returns, he's come back with a two-edged sword in his mouth. He's going to take care of business. I don't care what it looks like in between. He's the author and he's the finisher. He's going to fix it. I don't care how much the nations talk trash and do all the stuff they want to. Keep your eyes on Jesus, because he's going to make all this stuff work and come out. And he's going to deal with stuff the way it needs to be dealt with, not with the way they're trying to do it today. In Psalm 9, in verse 7, it says, but the Lord endure forever. He has prepared his throne for judgment. He has prepared his throne for judgment. Notice it says his throne. Who sits on the throne? A king. He has prepared his throne for judgment. He hasn't changed. He's still the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He's still the one who sits on the throne. He's still the one that every human being has got to deal with. Remember when during the Passover, when they took him to see Pontius Pilate? Pontius Pilate went through all this conversation, all this kind of stuff. Then they asked the question, he was going to release somebody. He says, I can release Barabbas into you, or I can release Jesus into you. They cried out for Barabbas. Pilate asked the question that is still applicable today. He said, well, what shall we do with Jesus? That's the same question that every human being still has to answer today. What will you do with Jesus? Your answer to that question is going to determine how your life goes and how your life ends up. You cannot get over that question. Why? Because he's the one who sits on the throne, and he is the righteous judge of the world. Verse 8. He shall judge, hold on a minute, let me see what I want to do there. Verse 8 says that he shall judge the world in righteousness. That word judge is S-H-A-P-H-A-T. S-H-A-P-H-A-T. Shaphat. It means to decide. It means to administer the right. Notice it says, he shall judge the world. Then he comes back and says in righteousness. But even the word judge itself, he says it means to decide. Well, to decide what? To decide who's right and who's wrong. To decide what's good and what's bad. To decide what's the truth and what's the lie. That's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do. It means to administer the right. So it's not just a matter of proving what's right and wrong. He's going to make sure that that justice is administered. It's not going to be those deals where, like, you go to the Capitol singing "God Bless America," and now you're in jail for 2 and 3 years. Yet in 2020, you burned up buildings, and you caused it's like $2 billion worth of damage, and between 20 and 30 people were killed. Yet nobody's gone to jail, and we call that the summer of love and peaceful. While other people who all they did was walk through a door that was already open, and sometimes got invited, and they in jail for 2 and 3 years. It's not going to be that stuff in the end. In fact, it's not even going to wait till the end. It's going to happen quickly. You're going to see a turnovers that are going to happen this year that are going to blow your mind. It's going to come from places that you never thought it was coming. But all that fake stuff that's been going and all the hidden stuff is going to come out like crazy. It's coming this year. It's coming. It says, he shall judge the world in righteousness. Why? Because that's who he is. Because that's who he is. He's going to judge the world in righteousness. It means to decide, to administer the right. It means to vindicate. Even that word judge. See, we usually think of the word judge, we always think of it in the bad. And it's true. It does associate it with itself with punishment. But it also associates itself with freedom and vindication. In other words, the innocent people who are being punished are going to be vindicated. The guilty people who are walking around talking all the trash, they're going to be punished. Write it down. I said it. Write it down. Pastor Tim said it on this night. Okay? You're going to see it. They're going to be punished. I've been waiting for this longer than anything I've ever been waiting for in my life. I've been alone, standing out on a limb for so long, and people look at me like I'm crazy. Write it down. It's going to happen. And don't forget it when it does. Ooh. So it says, he shall judge the world in righteousness. Look, he shall minister judgment. He shall minister judgment. So went back when it says the word righteousness, people throw that word around. This word is talking about righteousness. It's talking about morally and legally. Morally and legally righteousness. It's talking about what ought to be done. You ever seen something happen and go, that ain't right. Y'all know that ain't right. That ain't right. God's going to do things that ought to be done. Not stuff that's politically correct. Not stuff that the majority wants and so forth. That's why America is not a democracy. It never has been a democracy. You won't find the word democracy in any of our founding papers. Nowhere around. Why? Because democracy is a nice word that means mob rule. It means the majority rule. The majority does not decide with God. God decides what's right and what's wrong. Not the majority. You know, even the thought of the majority rule is really a stupid idea. It's just crazy. Do you want the majority to decide what you eat? Oh, but it's the majority. No. Do you want the majority to decide what happens with your money? No, it's your money. It's called personal property. Even the Bible talks about property. We say, well, you know, property, I don't understand this property thing. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, woe to those who remove the ancient markers. What are the ancient markers? They're property lines. That's what's been deeded to those particular people. Nobody has the right to remove those property lines. Yeah, we're saying, well, it don't matter. If we don't think it's fair. I don't care if you think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that some people are super rich. Well, wait a minute. If they earn the money, it ain't none of your business. It's not up to you to decide whether it's fair or not. Who cares? Well, I think it should be given to other people. We don't care how many of you vote that way. It is not right according to the word of God. That's called stealing. No matter, even if the government approves it. It's called stealing. Okay? We're gonna forgive all your debt. Bible says that the wicked borrowed and payeth not back again. So if you want to be among the wicked, then you do that. No. So all this crazy stuff that you see happening where those who do right things are being punished for doing right things, and those who do bad things are being rewarded for doing bad things, God says, hang in there. I'm still the righteous judge. I'm still the governor of the nations. Watch me. Watch me move. So he says, righteousness deals with honesty. He's going to judge in righteousness. It means he's going to be honest about his judgment. It means it has to do with integrity. He's going to do his judging with integrity. People, remember I told you about going places and now I'm different than what I've ever been before. There are places that you can go to, and when your case comes up, you don't even have to try your case no more. All you got to do is look at who the judge is. And you know how it's going to turn out. Why? Because they've got judges now who are chosen to do exactly that. They don't care one bit about the Constitution. They don't care one bit about the law. They will look at you, they'll look at you, and they'll look at you, and they'll decide who they want to win. Forget the law. There's a righteous judge who's going to deal with all that stuff. Trust me. And he's going to do so in fairness. I'll keep on going. And so they know, and he shall judge the world in righteousness. He shall judge the world. Who's the world? Everybody. Ain't nobody getting away. Your money is not going to buy you out of this. Your connections are not going to buy you out of this. What family you were born into is not going to buy you out of this. He's going to judge the whole world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment. That word judgment, basically, it's a different word, but it has basically the same kind of meaning behind it. Listen, to the people in uprightness. He's going to do it all in uprightness. He is going to fix it all. And that's the important thing. That's what let me tell you why this is important. Because a lot of times we can look at stuff, and because it's happening to somebody else, it doesn't bother us. But wickedness or unrighteousness in any area is wickedness everywhere. And if they get away with it over here, it ain't going to be long before they bring it over to here. Remember, have you heard that saying about the people who were in Nazi Germany? I forgot what the order is, so don't shoot me. But they started out with the handicap. They went after certain trade unions. Then they went after the Jews and all that stuff. And people were saying things like, when they went after them, I didn't worry about it because I wasn't a part of that. But then they said, now they're coming after me, and there's nobody left because they've taken everybody else. See, you look at life and you think it doesn't matter. But when we allow them to take from anybody, to improperly imprison anybody, whenever we allow any of that kind of stuff, we're just waiting, biding our time. Because once they get away with it, they're coming after us next. So verse 9. Says, the Lord will also be a refuge for the oppressed. See, he's saying this right in the same thing as he's talking about judging, about doing things right. He says, I'm going to be a refuge for the oppressed. Those who are being oppressed, those who, and the word oppression, it speaks of those, it speaks of those who can, taking advantage of those who can't. That's what oppression is. It's when you take advantage of somebody. It's not something they deserve. You're doing it because you can. You're doing it because you're not one of them. So they're oppressing people. God says that I'm going to be a refuge for them. The Bible says the righteous run in and they are safe. I'm going to be a refuge for those who are being oppressed. The Bible also tells us to speak up for those who are being oppressed. We look at things and everything's theoretical. But go back and talk to people who were there. Talk about the people who were Holocaust survivors. Talk to people who've come from places, other places besides Germany, where they were in a communist or in a socialist thing. Let them tell you what they see right now. And they'll tell you where it's going to go. This is how we started. They promise you all this stuff, but in the end, it's going to be over. I saw a girl, I think she was from Korea. Yeah, I think she's Korean. And she was talking about how they got into the mess they were getting into. it said the different stories she told about how they started out with the socialism thing, and it was going for a while, but after a while you start running out of people's money. So the next solution was, listen, the less people you got to feed, the less money you have. So they killed a whole bunch of people. Okay? That's why we have such, unconcern for life in society right now. And I mean on every different level. We're asking ourselves, why do little kids shoot little kids? We're telling them that life doesn't matter. Okay? We're telling them that life doesn't matter. What do you mean? Why should they care about another human life if that's all we're telling them? You know, you got it with the killing the unborn, but you also got it with on the other end, the assisted suicide is legal in a whole bunch of different states. It will help you kill yourself. And you say, well, no, you need to keep listening to them. What's that girl? You know her? Jane Water. No. Is it Jane Woodall? Is she the one that was with the apes? Mm-hmm. That's her, yeah. She said, if you want to, recently, she said, if you want to reach net zero in this global warming garbage, we have to eliminate 90% of the population. Hmm. Don't think that's a joke, y'all. That's the plan. You have to do that. And so the wickedness that you see is just unbelievable. We just don't want to believe it. Because it is unbelievable. But God sees it, and God's going to judge it. Because, see, it's not going to be an accidental getting rid of 90% of the population. You can't do that accidentally. Okay? It's not going to be accidental. So he says that he's going to judge in righteousness. That's the only hope we have. He is going to judge in righteousness. If I didn't have that faith, I would be one depressed dude. So the Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed. Listen, he said he will be a refuge in the time of trouble. The psalmist is talking about his own experience, and he's talking about how God will be a refuge in the time of trouble. We're in troubled times right now. It's not the worst times. We say, I think we're in a tribulation. Nah, not even close. Okay? This is just insanity according to what we're used to. We're not even close. Okay? Trust me. That's why I want you to read from Genesis to Revelation. Read a little bit through the book of Revelation. Not just there, read through Daniel. The Great Tribulation is going to be stuff that make where we are look calm. It even look what Hamas, it's going to make what Hamas did look calm. I mean, you ain't, so all them Christians who want to go through there, y'all go ahead on. Have fun. See you on the other side. So he says, your Lord will be a refuge for the oppressed. He says you'll be a refuge in time of trouble. This is a word, this sentence isn't a past tense sentence. It means at whatever point in time you find yourself in trouble, God is your refuge. At whatever point in time you find yourself in trouble, he's your refuge. He was your refuge in the midst of the stuff that you've already experienced. Whether you took advantage of that or not is on you. He is your refuge in your present day experience. Whether you take advantage of that is on you. And he will be your refuge later on in whatever times that you're doing. I keep on going. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in time of trouble. When you're in trouble, the worst thing you can do is walk away from God. The worst thing you can do is stop coming to the house of God, stop hanging around with mature Christian people. That's one of the worst things you can do, because when you get out on your own, that's when the devil can beat you like, he just beats you up. Why? Because it's your weakest moment. That's when you need to be around good people. Now in verse 10. Let's read verse 10, and then I'll let y'all go home. I can see you anyway. Verse 10, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. I love that. You cannot sum it up any better than that. It says, and they that know thy name will put thy trust in thee. That's how you come through all them troubled times. That's how you come through all when it seems like the whole nation is wound up against you. When it seems like there's more insanity out there arrayed against you than there is with you. And by the way, always remember that it isn't what you see, because we walk by faith. No matter how many of them it seems, no matter what the fake polls say, no matter what the group looks like, there is more with us than there is with them. Mm-hmm. You got to believe that by faith. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. You got to believe by faith. And also he's going to demonstrate that by faith, that no matter how loud they get, the Lion of the tribe of Judah is louder. Mm-hmm. I keep on going. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. Notice it says they will put their trust in thee. It isn't an automatic thing. Just because you're a believer doesn't mean you're going to trust in God. You have to put your trust there. Right. It's something that we do. You have to put your trust there. They will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord, has not forsaken them that seek thee. That's one of the things that the enemy of your soul wants to always tell you, that God has forsaken you, that God has left you, that you're facing this situation all by yourself, that you're in a world full of crazy people and you alone are the only one. Who was that? Elijah said that? He said, I alone am left. I didn't know I got a whole bunch more that have not bowed that knee to Baal. But that's how it feels sometimes. You feel like you're alone. You know, you're the only one who sees this stuff. What, is everybody else blind? No, there are lots of people who see the same things that you see. One of the neat things that's happening today is I really believe that there's more Christians today who are seeing the reality and praying the reality than we've ever had before. Now, I'm not talking about, what's the word? I'm not talking about the church itself being in great position. I'm just saying that there's a greater remnant today than there ever has been. And people are seeing what's really happening. There's still the same coffee and donut crowd, but the remnant has grown more and have a better understanding of where we are. The ecclesia is doing more and grasping more than I think we ever have in history. Now, is God hampered by that? No. God always does things by remnants. He does it that way so that you know that it was him. In some ways, it's like, it's not that he doesn't want you to, it's just that he knows you're not. So he'll take what he can. That's why he says, I searched for a man to stand in the gap. He said, but I found none. I looked for somebody that I could send. And Isaiah says, here I am, send me. Not here we are, here I am. So he always seems to go with a small group to accomplish what he needs to do. Not that he doesn't want the larger group. It's just that he understands the larger group ain't coming. But he says, those who keep their eyes on him, who trust in his name, he says, I have not forgotten you. Believe that in your heart. Whatever you are, whatever you're facing, whatever you see ahead of you, believe that God has not forsaken you, that he's got your back, and that he's going to push through. You keep on walking with him and believe to see the salvation of the Lord in the land of the living. Amen? Amen. 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 Any comments?
It was good.
Good message.
All right. Thank you. Let's pray. Father, help us to keep our eyes on you at all times, to keep trusting you, to never forget who you are. We don't want to forget who you are. And we're not talking about remembering you in theory. remembering you in an abstract way. We need to remember you as our Lord and Savior, as our ever-present help in time of trouble, as the one who lifts my head, as the one who brings me through the valley of the shadow of death, my ever-present help. Teach us, Lord, to practice your presence and to believe you. We're not going to be led by our feelings. We're not going to be led by everybody else's feelings, who agrees and who doesn't agree. We choose to believe you. And Father, I pray that in everyone who's listening to my voice, in their present situation, you would manifest yourself, manifest and show yourself strong on their behalf. We keep our eyes on you. We thank you, Lord. Take us home safely. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.